Bridgerton Season 4, Volume 1 left us at a pinnacle where we are yet to get all the tea in the room, and now that we know it drops on February 26, 2026, the steamy moments are only going to get wilder, which changes absolutely everything. Let's start with what's happening with the power dynamics in the TON. After Lady Whistledown was unmasked in Season 3, everyone assumed her gossip column days were over. But here's the twist. Queen Charlotte isn't letting Penelope retire from the scandal business. Instead, the Queen is now using her as a pawn to direct the entire social season. The Queen literally has control over the most powerful gossip weapon in London, and she's forcing Penelope to write exactly what she wants. This puts Penelope and her independence in danger, as the Queen could demand stories that put her in a box or alter her creativity. The question everyone's asking is, how far will the Queen push this forced partnership? And what happens when Penelope has to choose between herself and the Queen's demands? But the chaos doesn't stop there. Francesca and John's storyline is getting super complicated. Following their marriage, there's an essential conversation about intimacy and connection, and viewers are left wondering if they can actually find true passion together or if they'll continue struggling with their marital connection. What makes this even more interesting is that Francesca has been portrayed as different from her siblings. She's quieter, more reserved, so watching her navigate these intimate struggles feels way more vulnerable than the steamy scenes we got with other Bridgerton couples. The show is basically asking whether a marriage built on friendship and respect can survive without the burning passion of other couples. To make matters worse, Michaela has now visited, leaving Francesca even more confused about what her body and heart need. And speaking of couples, let's talk about who's missing. Anthony and Kate are absent from Volume 1. They've gone to India for the birth of their first child, leaving a massive leadership void in the Bridgerton household. Without the Viscount and Viscountess around, there's no one really steering the family ship. But in Volume 2, we can expect them to be back and change the narrative with their child. However, another popular narrative for many Bridgerton and Queen Charlotte lovers is the difficulty of finding shows that truly scratch that same royal romantic itch. Marie Antoinette and Victoria are perfect examples, both centered around powerful queens and early reign drama. But here is the frustrating part. If you live in the US, Marie Antoinette is completely hidden. It does not even show up unless you switch to the UK. And if you are not in the US or the UK, Victoria disappears too. Same subscriptions, locked content. That is why I use NordVPN. One click, change your location, and suddenly the shows you are already paying for actually appear. The link is in the description. Then there's Eloise's storyline, which honestly feels like a new beginning for her. After her rebellion in previous seasons, Eloise might have a different perspective. However, she still hates the whole marriage mart drama and men, especially, putting her future role and romantic prospects completely in question. Some fans think her role this season is setting up for a bigger storyline for Season 5. Others worry that Eloise is being sidelined because the show doesn't know how to balance her feminist ideals with the series' romantic requirements. But here's where things get really interesting. Benedict's storyline is heating up in a major way, and something is brewing that nobody saw coming. Following the masked ball from Volume 1, Benedict is entirely obsessed with the mysterious woman he met. The problem is, he has no idea who she actually is, but assumes she might be from a noble family, which contradicts what he shares with Sophie Beck. The class differences storyline comes into play here, and this is where Bridgerton gets really interesting because the show has always danced around the issue of servants. We see the staff, but they're usually just background characters. Volume 2 is changing that in a significant way. The show is setting up this major tension around whether Benedict can move beyond superficial romance and if their worlds, upstairs and downstairs, can truly merge despite the rigid Regency class structure. But the show is hiding the reason these two storylines are so connected. Now here's where the story gets absolutely wild. The cliffhanger from Volume 1 revolves around Sophie rejecting Benedict's offer. After searching for his mysterious masked woman, Benedict eventually proposes to Sophie, but it's not a marriage proposal. He asks her to become his mistress, which sounds very insulting. Knowing Sophie's proper upbringing before Araminta Araminta destroyed it all. However, Benedict is so blinded by class expectations that even when he finds a woman he's interested in, he doesn't think she's worthy of being his wife. He assumes there would never be a chance for her to be more than a mistress. Sophie obviously rejects this because she has way more self-respect than Benedict is giving her credit for. This rejection sets up a shift in power dynamics. Sophie isn't playing the game Benedict expects. She's not falling at his feet, grateful for whatever scraps of attention he's willing to give her. She's demanding actual respect, and Benedict has no idea how to handle loving a woman with a low rank. But here's the detail that makes this whole thing insane. Here's what's going to make viewers absolutely lose their minds when they watch Volume 2. Benedict doesn't realize the woman he met at the masked ball is the same person he's been interacting with in his daily life, the mysterious woman whom he can't stop thinking about, the one he's been obsessing over since Volume 1, the woman he's desperately trying to find. It's Sophie Beck, the woman who exists in his world but whom he doesn't actually see because of the class divide. Benedict has been living in the same space as his soulmate this entire time, and he has absolutely no clue. He's been near her, walking past her, treating her with respect despite her position in the social hierarchy, and the whole time, she's the woman from the masked ball that he claims changed his life. A major lingering question is when exactly Benedict will realize that the mysterious woman from the masked ball is the same person he interacts with daily. This is the core tension of Volume 2. Can Benedict figure out who Sophie really is? And more importantly, when he does figure it out, can he move beyond his classist assumptions and actually see her as an equal? Or will his obsession with the masked mystery woman disappear the second he realizes she's beneath his social station? The dramatic irony is wild. Viewers are going to be screaming at their screens watching Benedict pine for this woman while she's literally right there. It's going to be painful, romantic, and frustrating all at once. What makes this storyline so powerful is that it forces Benedict to confront his own prejudices. He's always seen himself as the artistic, open-minded Bridgerton. He's not as rigid as Anthony, not as rule-bound as his mother, but when it comes down to it, Benedict is still a product of his class. He still sees certain people as different. He still thinks there's a natural hierarchy that shouldn't be crossed. Sophie represents everything that challenges his worldview. She's proof that value and worth aren't determined by birth. She's more interesting, more complex, more worthy of love than half the society women Benedict has been expected to court. But society says she doesn't matter because of where she falls in the social structure. The big question Volume 2 is answering is whether Benedict can move beyond superficial romance and truly merge their worlds despite the rigid class structure. Can upstairs and downstairs actually come together, or will the Regency social rules destroy their chance at happiness before it even begins? Think about what it means that Benedict proposed making Sophie his mistress without realizing she's the masked woman. He's literally looking at the love of his life and offering her an insulting arrangement because he can't see past her social position. That's the tragedy of this whole thing. The woman he's been dreaming about has been there all along, and his own prejudices made her invisible to him. And then there's Araminta lurking in the background. Sophie's evil stepmother isn't just going to disappear, she's positioning herself close by, which means she's planning something, as we saw at the end of episode 4. Araminta knows about Sophie's past. She knows about the masked ball. She has the power to expose Sophie and ruin everything. This creates a ticking clock element to the romance. Benedict and Sophie can't just slowly figure out their feelings. There's an active threat working against them. Araminta could expose Sophie's secret at any moment. She could reveal to the entire TON that someone below their station crashed the masked ball and caught the eye of a Bridgerton. The scandal would destroy both of them. Volume 2 is setting up a collision course between love and societal expectations, between personal desire and class obligations, between who Benedict thinks he should be and who he actually is when he strips away all the privilege and prejudice. The fact that Benedict and Sophie's story unfolds while Anthony and Kate are away makes it even more significant. There's no one around to guide Benedict through this. No one to tell him that love matters more than status. He has to figure this out on his own, and based on his mistress's proposal to someone he doesn't even recognize, he's not off to a great start. The show is basically saying that Benedict clashes with Sophie regularly, treats her like a princess, can no longer hide his feelings for her, and somehow doesn't connect her to the woman who rocked his world at the masked ball. That's how blind privilege makes people. That's how deep the class divide runs. a woman can completely transform Benedict's understanding of love and connection, and the second he sees her in the wrong context, she becomes different again. Bridgerton Season 4, Volume 2 drops on February 26, 2026. And based on these plot points, it's going to be the most emotionally complex season yet. The show is finally tackling the class issues it's been dancing around for 3 seasons. It's asking hard questions about who deserves love and respect, and it's forcing its most privileged characters to confront their own blind spots. Benedict's journey from entitled aristocrat to someone who can actually see Sophie for who she is the story Volume 2 is telling, and it's going to change everything we think about the Bridgerton world.